Okay, good afternoon, everybody. This is episode number 77 of Sports Consiglieres Podcast. My name is Jim Whalen. Along with me is my friend, my buddy, my pal, still sporting the New York Giants
That's
sweatshirt.
it, baby.
And where's Eli?
He's over here.
Yeah, here's Eli. All right, we thought we had Willie Boy, but Jerry Calla. Jerry, another victory less Monday. So episode 77. You got any special?
I guess we got to go. We got to go with Eric Dorsey.
Yeah, Golden Domer. It makes somebody happy.
Baby.
So, all right. Well, let's just dive into it. Of course, the Giants went down to Lincoln. Yeah,
a lot going on here. See, this is Jimmy referred to Eli. This is another. That's co-host.
It. Yeah, there you go. Who's he named after?
Yeah, the two-time Super Bowl winner, baby.
Yeah. So Giants had their 13 straight loss down in Lincoln Financial. I think when the game opened up 7 seconds in, Barkley goes for a 65-yard run, untouched, and I kind of knew we were in trouble because the Philly had a tough time getting the run game going, and of course that wasn't a good sign. You could blame whoever you want on a run defense. Giants answered with a 19-yard reception with Skattebo, 7-7. And then, of course, with the tush push, I thought the reffing in this game was horrible. And not only in this game, and a lot of these NFL games, the ref has been horrible. But I thought that was a fumble. If Hurts picked up and ran down the line for a touchdown, it would have counted. So I can't see how that wasn't a fumble. And, of course, passed to Barkley. They're up 14-7 and then never looked back since. So what's your take on the game and where do we go from here? We got trade deadline coming up and we got a lot of stuff to discuss.
The thing is, I mean, that was such a bad call, that it played a factor in the game. There were a lot of factors. That is not the sole factor on the outcome, but man, that was just a bad call. Probably makes another feather in the cap for the anti tush push crowd.
Yeah.
But you hit the nail on the head, Jimmy. The run defense was abysmal yet again. And it's very frustrating. We're not gonna sit here and break it down, but at one point in the game, the secondary was a shell of the way they started. But still, the bottom line is the run defense stunk, plain and simple. And the thing that where do you go from here? Unfortunately, you're going forward without Skattebo, who's been a breath of fresh air, with Dart. And now basically, if you're a New York Giants fan, your only reason for watching going forward, is the play of the quarterback position. And, once again, the whispers about the offensive line, have really, really, really diminished, if you will, over these last few weeks. It's a credit to them. It's a credit to having Andrew Thomas back. But, again, if you would have told me that we would be at this point and that they would be 2-6, I wouldn't be surprised. However, if you would tell me that they're 2-6 and they're having a lot of difficulty defensively and there was a few late meltdowns defensively, I would have been shocked in that regard. And, where we going forward, there's a lot of frustrating things about this team. The fact that, a person that you drafted high, we alluded to this in the past, Evan Neal, is yet again a healthy scratch. Hyatt was a scratch yesterday. And, it's just a lot of bad things going on. And to get to your question, I actually said this to somebody this morning, and they kind of looked at me. I said this to two people, and both people kind of looked at me funny. I think you trade Dexter Lawrence. And, it's not a reflection on Dexter Lawrence. I really like Dexter Lawrence, but this is a full rebuild. Yeah. And you're in a full rebuild, no matter if you want to fully admit that or fully go public with that, but it's a full rebuild. The New York Giants linebacker play is very poor. Obviously McFadden is out, but their linebacker play is very poor. That's something that needs to be addressed. Your interior defensive line needs to be addressed. Your wide receiver room, obviously Neighbors is out for the year. Slayton came back yesterday. He wasn't playing well all year after you gave him $12 million. The tight ends have been up and down. Again, if you would have told me that two of the stronger positives on the offensive side of the ball would be Illuminor and Andrew Thomas, we know, but now couple him with Illuminor, you have something there where you have two bookends. But this is a full rebuild. There's a lot that needs to be addressed here, and I think, hey, listen, you're not going anywhere. You might as well get something for him, shed a little payroll and just keep chugging forward, getting Dart the experience that he needs. And, it'd be nice if you win a few games.
Well, are you going to trade? I mean, getting back to trading Dexter Lawrence, you trade for picks or players?
You got to go. You got to go pick.
I mean, listen, how's that look in the locker room trading one of your captains and one of your key players?
I think before the Eagles win, 2 weeks ago, I think how do you do that? You bring him in, and I think it might be, the feeling if you decide to do that, I think there may be some amicable feelings about him going somewhere. You try to do right by him, putting him on a contender, and you go from there.
Yeah, but nobody in the division, or nobody in the conference.
Oh, that's
I mean, but I have to say, he's not the player he was after the injury. So I don't know. I know the defensive coach was singing his praise, and he says him and Villa were the only two interior linemen that play on third down. Everybody else doesn't play on third down. So he drew a lot of attention, but his play has been subpar this year as a captain. I mean, and
he hasn't had a sack yet.
Yeah, and the running game we talked about, or the run defense we talked about, was an issue back in preseason. And we said we're going against Philly, you're going against all these teams, all these running backs, and it was a problem. And it was a problem. Philly got healthy yesterday on the Giants. And he looked, I don't even think Saquon Barkley, except for the hamstring, I don't think it broke a sweat. I mean, it wasn't really, they really beat him up. But what about Evan Neal or Hyatt? And also I heard Thibodeau. Thibodeau's, they signed him this year, but he's playing well. I hate to see Thibodeau go. I mean, Evan Neal.
Again, you're not going to get the value in return for Thibodeau because he's on a rookie contract still. So you're not going to get the return on that because he's looking to get paid, and that's a decision that has to be made at the end of the year. Hyatt, what are you going to get for him? 2 footballs? Neal, maybe a water bottle, and I mean, really. What's their value? And if they do have value, if there is a pick, here's the problem with that, right? Can you imagine Joe Shane trading Neal straight up? What's his value now? 6th round pick?
I don't know, maybe a 4th and a 6th. I mean, he's been a bust.
And again, the current GM who drafted him, I'm playing devil's advocate, is going to package him for a 4th and a 6th round pick after drafting him in the 1st round in the top 8 picks.
Well, he's going to be owing some money, so it's. So if you're Joe Shane this week, or if I asked you about John Mara last week, if you're Joe Shane this week, what's your mission? What's your strategy this week with the trade?
His message to the media is going to be just like Brian Cashman on the Yankee side has mastered this. We're going to do our due diligence. We're going to field phone calls. We might even make a few phone calls, gauge value, see where guys are, where guys fall, in their value to possibly make a move. And he's going to give you the old line. We're always looking to upgrade our roster for today, and I think in this case, obviously for tomorrow. Again, there's some schools of thought that think that Hyatt is just not a good fit for the Giants, and whatever. It's like anything else. People need a fresh start. And if there is value, you see what that value is, but you just can't give these guys away. That's the other thing.
Trading Dexter Lawrence. Where else do you think the Giants have ever traded something like that magnitude in their history? And what was the result? A captain.
I mean, I understand where you're going with that, with the whole captain thing. You never want to lose the locker room. But like I said, there's always a way to do things like this. And if you bring him in, I don't think he's going to give you resistance.
You think he says, all right, just give us 6 or 7 teams that where do you want to go? Or talk to his agent. Where does he want to go?
And I think he would be amicable to that. I really do. That's my opinion. I really think he would.
Because
you're not gonna come in and do and trade him in the middle of the night and come in and say, oh, by the way, you're going to the Browns or whoever. You're not going to do that. We're way past. If you decide to do that, and
you got to give him the respect. You got to give him the respect.
You do it with kid gloves.
Yeah, you have to give him the respect. Yeah. So, but I got my Angry Run shirt again, so I figured probably the last time I wear it with Skattebo. But I think that's when the game started going sideways because they had 2 penalties, and then next thing you know, Skattebo went down. So, and then Gano nailed the field goal 14-10. The game was still at reach, but the delay of game penalties, I think they keep on happening. So, but I will say the offensive side of the ball is doing a lot better than the defense side of the ball.
Yeah, that's what we've seen. That's been the key. That's been the story of the last few weeks here. Obviously the Skattebo injury was gruesome. They didn't even want to re-show it, rightfully so.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And it's a huge hit, going forward, because what him and Dart were doing for this team and this organization, was really unbelievable. And
he was at the Knicks. He was a Knicks home opener. He was on cover of the Post. I mean, like he was getting his grill. So I mean, he was. It was just. It gave us a good distraction, and for 2 weeks, Dart and Skattebo were the story in NFL. And then you saw the frustration with Dart when he went down. I mean, I know off the field they're friends, but I mean that. And after that, I don't think they really recovered. I don't think the Giants were probably going to win the game, but it's always been tough for them to play. But I mean, there was a joke going around on Instagram that Philly stole their 2 running backs in 2 years in a row with Skattebo and then Barkley last year. So I mean, it's a tough place to play. And I will say about Jalen Hurts. I mean, Jalen Hurts I thought was masterful in the game. I mean, he just didn't get upset. Did what he had to do. 15 of 20. 179 yards, 4 TDs. So I thought it was a complete performance. And I thought Dart played well. The only thing I would say with Dart, looks like they're starting to change things on him. So I think it's taking a little longer time to read the defense. I think Tom Brady alluded to that in the game. Yeah. Go ahead.
Let me stop you there, because now you're setting the thing, which is now is going to be my venom. What a novel idea that they played 2 weeks ago, right, Jimmy? 2 weeks ago. And what a novel idea. The defensive coordinator, Vic Fangio, who's been around, it seems like since Moses wore short pants, made adjustments. He made adjustments. A defensive coordinator who makes adjustments. And like you're saying, to get to the scheme to the matter, if you will, to break down the scheme, played more zone. Zone. Dart had
and it worked.
Had to actually go through the progressions, holding the ball longer. They're in zone, but a defensive coordinator that made adjustments. Wow, that's earth-shattering news. Unbelievable.
Yeah. So I mean, and then just getting back to the game itself, the Giants had 21 seconds left, and they took a knee. I think they were out there like the 35, 40-yard line. Would you have tried at least to get something there or no?
The only thing with that and you're on the road. You have a rookie quarterback. You saw that they had the injury, which took a lot out of them. At that point, you just want to get into the locker room. I don't
Yeah, well,
particularly have a issue with that per se.
I mean, they were to get the ball back and
And
on
they
the
were getting
third.
the ball back. Right.
So, but I mean, Dart 14 to 24, 193 yards, one TD. Also had the Russian TD. Wandell Robinson, he had 3 receptions for 48 yards, and Tracy had 10 carries for 29 yards. Barkley, of course, had 14 carries, 150 yards, and everybody got introduced to Tank Bigsby, who also ran for 100 yards. So I thought it was putrid that they gave up the amount of yards, 427 total yards. So
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
And then I think
And they did sack.
I
They
will,
did sack Hurts 4 times.
yeah. And I will say, Burns got 2 sacks again. I mean, on the defensive side, I mean, he's been steady every game. I mean, and that for the trade for him. I mean, he's been steady every game, and he's got 10 sacks for the year. So I mean, he's playing on a different level. So, but that was a good trade. And then I have to, Corey Black came in. You had Corey Black and Tay Banks on the corners. Black, I think they drafted him in the 7th round. He signed him off the Jets. The Jets practice squad, and he's playing. I don't think he played that bad as a rookie for the first time. On. I mean, the one play over Dotson, Dotson jumped over and got the reception, got the touchdown, but I don't think he played that bad though. I mean, and I don't think Banks played that bad either. He really didn't see him get burned, but I don't know. I mean, but then they lose Flott. So I mean, the injuries are starting to pile up. So
Definitely depleted in the secondary. Definitely depleted. But again, the Eagles didn't have Brown, and so goes the NFL. It's just like I said, my source of frustration is the run defense, and that's been the Achilles heel these last few weeks. And the bright spot was they did sack Hurts 4 times. Burns had a sack, and ultimately he's having a good year. And obviously you get to a point where there's only going to be so much you can do with the personnel that you have. But the bottom line is just to give up that many yards was absolutely brutal. What you take out of this game is that once again the quarterback is proving to you that he's the right man for this job. He's validating where the fact that you moved up to get him. But man, the run defense is we keep talking about it. 276 yards. Ay, ay, ay.
yeah,
You
and then
know, ay, ay, ay.
the Barkley play, I think Musau, I guess
Oh,
he
I
he
mean, listen, there was a lot there. Tyler Nubin, the angles that he's taking, and once again, yet again, the Giants had, they did have 4 sacks. They allowed 5, but once again, they had more penalties than their opponent. That's another thing, that's been
yeah
a recurrent theme as well. Very, very, very disappointing. Did I expect them to win down in Philly? It's been a tall order, but again, like we talked about, you just want them to play well, and there was a lot of bad things going on, from the angles, Tyler Nubin on the Barkley touchdown run. I mean, he looked totally flabbergasted. His angle to the ball was brutal, and ultimately, Dart 14 of 24, 193 and a touchdown. You keep moving forward with him.
yeah.
Because
And
right now, if he wasn't playing as well as he was, God only knows what we'd be talking about now. And I guess the other thing was they didn't miss an extra point yesterday, and Cano was 2 for 2. I'm sorry,
yeah.
Cano was 2 for 2.
Yeah, so that was one of the few bright spots on it. But I mean,
Yeah.
I think I agree with you. Like Dart seems like the real deal. Do you go out and get him some sort of weapon that they can have for next year too? I mean,
If that's
maybe,
available, but I don't perceive them making any major move, any splash. I don't see them doing anything sexy. I really don't. I don't
well,
see them.
they seem to be very conservative though. This group
Very
they didn't sign
correct.
Ojulari last year. We talked about that in Slate. He ended up re-signing Slate, and Ojulari signed with the Eagles, and they also let Barkley walk, which of course, and then Daniel Jones they let him walk away too. So they really didn't make any moves when they had to. They're not really big. I guess they're going to build for the draft. So, but I don't know. It's upsetting, but where do you go from here? I mean, so you don't think that they're going to be active in the trade? The
I
trade
don't
line
think
approach?
so. Maybe a move or two, but they're not. They're not going to make it. They're not going to swing a deal, to bring in another receiver that's going to be, an impact player from day one. They might bring a depth piece or something like that, but you know, it's it was a bad loss. I think you look at the amount of yards that Philly gained on the ground. You lost Skattebo, who's been one of the most name a rookie that really has created that much excitement. Besides Dart, and
Yeah,
it was just an awful ending to a miserable day. Yet again losing at the link, and now you come home with the 49ers.
yeah.
So
So what's your expectation with the 49ers? 49ers are you know up and down.
yeah, I mean,
They,
if the
well,
Giants could come out and they could can actually have a run defense, and we'll go from there. But I think what happens now, the Skattebo injury hurts, but let's not forget here, Tracy got over 1,000 yards total positive yards last year between receiving and rushing. So I mean, again, he's going to get the ball a lot more. Singletary's role will probably increase. It'd be nice if they could really, actually, stop the run. And, is it a winnable game? I think it's a winnable game. Listen,
it,
nobody thought they were going to beat Philly in Philly. They should have beat Denver. They should have beat the Saints. They should have beat Dallas. So, it's a
yeah.
winnable game.
Well, I
But
mean,
how healthy are they in the secondary? There's a lot of factors coming into this week.
yeah. Well, the only thing good about the game, I guess they don't have to play Philly again until next year. So I guess that was the one.
Yeah,
That was the
that's a
one.
positive.
Yeah. So that was one positive. So I mean, one thing, Dart is undefeated at home, so that's another positive. So, but I like what we see at Dart, and then I don't know. I guess you'll probably see Turbo Miller come from the practice squad. He'll probably start
Yeah.
getting some reps. But what about coaching changes? I know that's been, or I think he's going to ride it out to the season to reevaluate.
I think at this point you'll see nothing until the end of the year. You'll see nothing until the end of the year, and then I think there'll be at a minimum, depending on how the rest of this year turns out, you'll see maybe a lot of new faces on the defensive side of the ball. Then again, who knows? Nothing surprises me with this group, though. Really,
Yeah, yeah.
you know.
But I mean, I think there. You said 2 weeks ago there is optimism in Giantland. I think there still is optimism.
Absolutely.
It's not like last year, but the big thing is
No,
having
you got the quarterback. It appears that
so
you have the quarterback.
so anyway. So I won't give any more predictions about the Giants and San Francisco, but just turn to other news. Nick Mangold passed away, unfortunately.
Awful.
41 years old.
41 years old. Awful.
And I don't know if you saw that Rex Ryan clip, but Rex Ryan was like almost in tears because I guess he was hurt and he decided to play his last game because he knew he was kind of like his time was done at the Jets. But Mangold definitely out of Ohio State. I think he was coaching up at Del Barton in New Jersey here, but I actually reached out to see if he'd come on a show and to get an answer back, but I can see. That was a couple weeks ago. I kind of see why, but anything about Nick Mangold, and also the Jets would put one on the board too.
Yeah, I mean, Rex Ryan was very emotional, like you mentioned. Mark Sanchez, he put out something nice, and it was a very important player to the Jet organization, and I guess it was fitting that they actually won their first game on a day that he passed. But it's very sad. He was 41 years old. He was looking for a transplant. It didn't happen, and definitely one of the better guys taken taken too soon. Very sad situation.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. But a couple documentaries out. I don't know if you caught the Expos documentary.
I did not watch that yet. No.
Yeah, well, I mean, pretty interesting. I mean, we covered it on the show, but it just talked about what went behind the scenes as far as um, just dealing with Montreal, and it's called "Who Killed the Expos," and it was good just to relive it. We covered here on the podcast a couple episodes. If you go Chop Sports Media and just check it out, there's a couple episodes we had. Larry Parrish on, we had a pitcher Don DeMola on, and also Danny Gallagher on, just talking about that. But like Jeffrey Loria, and they were looking for somebody local. Nobody local. He went to an American buyer, and then end up becoming the Washington Nationals. So pretty interesting.
Yep.
So another documentary, Liverpool, Kenny Dalglish. You got to check that out. I mean,
I haven't seen it. I'll watch that. Yeah.
yeah. I don't know if it's been released yet, but that's something about Liverpool. But I guess he was a player manager for Liverpool. So, but
But
interesting.
also too, there was also big news today. And I'm going to put it out there to dispel the rumors that I am not a candidate. The Red Bulls have parted ways with Sandro Schwartz, their head coach.
Okay.
They made some changes, and I just want to put it out there that I am not a candidate for that position.
Okay.
So
Woodridge restructured your contract.
Yes, I want to make that clear. So I am not a candidate for that position, but it'll be interesting. On a serious note, it'll be interesting to see who they bring in. So obviously, I think we real quick, I don't want to really talk too much about the Red Bulls because that's another aggravating topic. But the bottom line is, I think, and we said this, Jimmy, their long streak, which was something to be proud of, making the playoffs. I think the best thing that happened was them not making the playoffs. And it seems to me that this has definitely sparked change. And, that's good. That's what we like to see. So,
well, do you agree with the getting rid of the coach? Do you agree with that?
I thought it was time. Yes. I'm not surprised by that, but then again, I would have been surprised if I wouldn't have been surprised if he was returning. So, but we'll see. That'll be interesting. That's something that we'll obviously explore coming up. So,
all right. And then the other thing is NBA, day after their opening day, made some arrests. Were you surprised at that?
Let me tell you, it's sad what happened in this regard, but it's not surprising. You have organized crime, tied into the NBA, but boy, to get, you get a player who's a pretty decent player. That's one thing. Then you get a head coach. That's another thing. And I'm saying to myself, I'm like, is it me? Am I missing something in the aspect of, to me, this is a true scandal. And I don't know if it was reported, is the NBA down? I don't, or we just so distracted by football. It's a major scandal. You have a head coach, a Hall of Famer, an assistant coach, a guy that was considered at one time one of the better players in the league, and they're tied with organized crime. And the joke of it is, most American sports are sponsored, by gambling organization, gambling apps, whatever, and it's a terrible look for the NBA.
I guess the joke was that they broke the news, and then on the scrolling marquee they had ESPN Bet on there on ESPN. And so it's just like, that's the joke. Are you surprised that Adam Silver hasn't come out in front on this? Because he seems like he's been taking a back seat on this, or you think he's just trying to get his ducks in a row and find out how deep this is? Because
I think I don't know if I would call it ducks in a row. I think that they don't know how to handle this. I really don't.
Well, I think
Adam Silver dwarfs in comparison to what David Stern did for the NBA and what he was, for the NBA. And I just don't, listen, they're going to say that maybe they're doing their due diligence. I'm going to say that I don't think a lot of this was a surprise, because I always say there was whispers about different things if you read this or if you've been following this case. And, we go from there. I mean, but it's, to me, they were talking about Pete Rose, when the Pete Rose situation happened. And, now you have a sitting head coach, and a player, and it's not a good look for the league. And now it's spilling over possibly into the NFL. So I think we're far from done here.
Yeah.
With this. And, like what happens is, listen, they got them on wiretaps, right? That's how this all kind of went down, and putting the pieces together. Now people get arrested. People are going to get charged. And what's next? People are going to start talking. So where this goes, and I think that's the reason why, to be sort of fair, why we haven't heard from Adam Silver, because I think he's just trying to see maybe how deep this could go. You thought it was bad with the referee situation that time.
Yeah.
This is worse.
Yeah. And then I guess they said they might have arrested a referee this morning down in Maryland.
I didn't see that.
I was looking online. I'm not sure. Like, I don't know if it's credible or not, but I mean, anything, whoever talks first walks first. So I think somebody got pinched, and next thing you know, fed him this. And then, for whatever reason, they were doing these games all over. And then there was the one gambler, I think Pat McAfee had him on, and he was talking about how these guys were just killing professional poker players. And he got invited to some of these games, and he's like, man, no, thank you. So he goes, I'm not going on. But I mean, it's crazy how deep it is. And then, I think the college game has got them more worried about than the pro. I think the pros, I mean, basketball probably out of any sport is probably one that you could influence betting more so than anything else. Football might be a little bit tougher. Baseball might be a little bit tougher. But I mean, basketball, like you said, he took himself out of the game. You have these prop bets, and those are easy to win. But I mean, I guess they're to go through all these games that where the money was, where the money was bet and on what games. And then going back to our friend Mike Francesa, when he talked about the referee, they're not talking about Boston Lakers. They're talking about, Charlotte versus, Detroit or something like that 3 years ago. Games that not going to really matter. They're really, nobody's going to have their eyeballs on, in the fishbowl. It's going to be the game that nobody really cares about. That's the game that they really, that would really be the one that, the prop bets on. But we'll see. But it's definitely a black eye for the NBA. I'm surprised Adam Silver, he had the one interview, during the game, and basically he gave the party answer. But we'll see. And then I heard maybe Antonio Gates was involved, retired players, but wasn't
that his name came up. Yes, sir.
So I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of other there's a lot of other theories about how they got to this. But we'll see. But it's definitely a black eye for the NBA. But we'll keep on following it, keep on reporting it. But with that, Jerry,
if depending on what actually, because again, we don't know the full story. But let me ask you this question: Billups loses his Hall of Fame status?
That's a tough one. I mean, that'd be interesting to watch. I mean, did he bet on games as a player or only as a coach? Because he was an announcer for a while and then became a coach.
Yeah, but the bottom line is he's a member of the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. Have they ever?
I know what people are going to say. People that have committed crimes, you don't really lose your status. But I'm just where I'm going with that, and why I'm throwing that out there is, there was another gentleman who recently passed away who was the all-time hits leader who was, kept out of the Hall of Fame. So now what happens if you're in the Hall of Fame and you kind of are basically doing the same thing, more or less?
Yeah. And that's what they're saying about the steroid players too. I mean, you're keeping them out of Hall of Fame, but there's some people that were in the baseball Hall of Fame, not basketball, baseball Hall of Fame, that used steroids. So that's a sticky. I don't know. I don't know. Has anybody ever been kicked out? I mean, I know they prevented people from being a Hall of
Yeah.
Famer. I don't know. Has anybody ever been kicked out? He would be the first. So that's an interesting comment, Jerry.
That would make a huge statement. It really would.
But do you think you think the modern day player really cares about the Hall of Fame? I think some players do, some players don't.
To the modern day player, the Hall of Fame is not viewed as players viewed it in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. How's that?
Okay.
I think that's a fair assessment.
Yeah.
You know?
But we'll see. Well, anyway, Jerry, another great episode. Another Giant loss. So we'll keep watching the games. We'll keep reporting here. I'll pass this along to you. Looks like we're going to start getting some guests on to kind of break things up a little bit because we thought we'd have a couple more wins to report on Monday, but obviously that's not the case. So we just want to make sure our viewership continues. And also, Mr. Ray Butler said he's a faithful listener, and he said he wants to come on the show. He did his Lucille Ball impression with me. He's like, "How come I'm not on the show?" So he wants to be on the show. So
here's the deal.
You got to get through Jerry. Jerry's
is he coming on the show as a Kerry Collins lookalike, or is he coming on the show to drop some Yankee analysis on us?
And he's all Yankees. Yankees all day.
Yes.
So
he is. That is a good look. That's one of my better lookalikes over the years. He is a Kerry Collins lookalike.
Yeah. Very,
and don't let. Cool. And Ray probably used that at some point in his life. Don't let him kid you.
You think so?
There's a good possibility of that.
You would know better than I would. But anyway, Jerry, I think we'll put this episode to bed, on a Giants loss. So with Philly, wait until next year, Phillies, see if we can mend some losses. But I'll pass it along to you. Thanks to Dave, Chop Sports Media, for producing this episode. But I'll pass it along to you, Jerry, to take this one out.
Absolutely. Jimmy, like you said, we're going to give it to Eric Dorsey, Notre Dame's own. This was episode 77. Join us next time for episode 78. We will be breaking down Giants, Niners. Hopefully we'll have – go ahead.
I was just saying, hopefully Cam gets back, get healthy, Skattebo. So.
Yeah, he had surgery, so hopefully the Giants can actually find the W sooner than later. But like I said, that was episode 77. Join us for number 78. You got a 78 real quick, Jimmy?
78. Let's see.
Well, you're on the spot. I got it. I got a good one.
Was McGriff was 76.
Curtis McGriff was 76. That's another guy we've been trying to have on.
Yeah. 78. Was it a Jerome Sally?
Ah, very good, Jimmy.
Jerome Sally. All
right. Jerome Sally.
All right.
University of Missouri, baby.
Really? Missouri. That's
it. But anyway, that takes us to next week. Thanks for joining us. Thank you, Dave. Next up, we got Giants Niners, and we'll be having a guest or two coming up as well. Take care. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Have a great day. Take care.
Have a great day, everybody.